Would I be the a-hole if I were to dump my boyfriend for being a snobby movie critic? My boyfriend hosts his own podcast dedicated to movies, and he even has his own studio that he's renting out so that he can record there. He has some co-hosts, legit recording equipment, and he has a decent following. I always go to the studio to just sit on the side and watch as he records, but I've noticed that he's started to become a bit different ever since the start of the podcast. On a podcast a few weeks ago, the topic was 2016 movies as my boyfriend and his co-hosts revisited some of their favorite and least favorite films of 2016. One co-host brought up Arrival as their favorite film of 2016, and while he was talking, my boyfriend loudly yawns and he explains that he thought Arrival was boring. My boyfriend then goes into this giant rant about how he hated Arrival, calling it one of the most overrated movies of all time. He says that he looks down on people who like the movie because he claims that they think they're smart, and he says that he's proud of himself for seeing past that movie and its faux attempts at intelligence. And whenever someone would try to change the subject, he'd just interrupt them and go right back to talking about how much he hates Arrival. Then just a few days ago, he was recording another show and the topic was MCU movies. My boyfriend brought up that he thinks Age of Ultron is a hidden gem and massively overlooked masterpiece. One of his co-hosts scoffed when he said those things, and that set off my boyfriend. He starts attacking the co-host for his taste in movies and started saying stuff like, just because I have a better understanding of the art of filmmaking, it doesn't mean you have to be jealous of me. That was actually enough for the co-host to just walk out in the middle of the show, and my boyfriend said, "That's fine, I only want to talk to true auteurs of film on this show." And just yesterday, I asked him if we could see Shazam together, but he simply responded with, "I deserve better than those DC movies." I confronted him and told him that he needs to stop acting like he's smarter than everyone over his taste in film, and he said, "Truth hurts, doesn't it?" And it's like this a lot. Whenever I'm watching a movie he doesn't like, he'll just scoff and say, "Typical." I'm thinking of breaking up with him, but I also feel weird about dumping him over him having differing views on film. What do you think? Update. 4 days later. Last night was another podcast between my boyfriend and his remaining co-host. Before every actual recording of a show, they always get together in another room to briefly go over what they're going to discuss on the show, and the topic this time was Star Wars. They were going to talk about the new trailer for Episode 9, as well as rank their favorite and least favorite Star Wars films. During the pre-show meeting, I was thinking about how I was most likely going to break up with him after the show has been recorded, but another opportunity presented itself. During the meeting, my boyfriend and the co-host were talking about the Star Wars movies, and my boyfriend brought up that his favorite movie is Revenge of the Sith and his least favorite is A New Hope. He said that Revenge of the Sith is the most epic and action-packed, whereas the original movie is too dated. His co-host disagreed, and they started talking about their opinions, which lead to them talking about The Last Jedi, but then my boyfriend turns that conversation into one about another highly divisive 2017 movie, Mother, starring Jennifer Lawrence. My boyfriend hailed it as one of the top 5 films of all time, and the most artistic film he's ever seen. His co-host wanted to get back on track to Star Wars, but my boyfriend kept wanting to talk about Mother. The co-host responded with Mother is an edgy high schooler's version of artistic. And that was enough for my boyfriend to go red in the face and say, "Well, at least I try to have actual taste unlike you." The co-host simply said, "I'm done," and got up and walked out of the room. My boyfriend just stood there and then he turned on me. He said to me, "What the F are you looking at?" I just stood up and told him that we're done as a couple. I explained that I can't stand his shitty way of talking to people and constantly acting like he's so much better than everyone. He starts telling me that he needs me and he was planning on asking me to join the podcast, but I just told him no and walked out of the room. While I was leaving the building and getting an Uber, my boyfriend sticks his head out of the front door and screams, "Fucking cunt." I just ignored him, went home, and now here I am. Update, I just wanted to let you know that I will no longer be giving out the link to the podcast in any more PMs. I've done that in a couple of PMs already, and my ex just texted me, telling me that the comment section in his podcast is being bombarded with trolls and harassment comments, one of which was a death threat that he's now reporting.